Good morning. It is Sunday, July 11th, and I am Pastor Carrie, and this is the Sunday morning brief. It is at this time that I share a little something about the sermon for today, something I just don't have time to touch on, or that, just a different angle to whatever I'm talking about. And so this morning's brief will begin in just a moment. I'm going to wait and see if anyone comes on live. Okay, again, welcome. This is Sunday morning brief. Today in worship, we're going to hear the favorite Jesus story from Beverly Hill Miller, a member of our church. And it is the story of Jesus eating breakfast with his disciples after his resurrection. This account is found in John chapter 21. And what I want to highlight from this today that I'll mention in the sermon, but not go deeply into it, is the fact that this chapter 21 of John was a later addition to the what we'd call the book, but it would have been more like a letter. So this just reminds us, Mark also has some added verses at the end of his gospel. And so I just want to highlight and have us remember that these gospel writings were very specific to the community in which these apostles were living. So they shared all these stories orally, and then in written form as well. And it was for the specific group of people for whom they have had relationship and interaction with. In some cases, they're trying to convert people to following Jesus. In some cases, they're just answering a lot of questions. Mostly it's they're sharing the good news with the community in which they live. And now we get to have the benefit, thousands of years later. So the same is with John. The other thing to remember with the gospel writers is that they had followers as well. They would have like an inner circle possibly. And this is what Jesus modeled for them in his ministry. And so it somewhat makes sense that they would have a few people who were closest to them, learning more deeply from them, and engaging in a different kind of relationship. And so they were often called disciples. So John had probably some disciples. And this added chapter at the end of John is likely from someone who had studied under him. The earliest manuscripts of John does not include chapter 21. It didn't come up until a couple hundred years, it wasn't found for a couple hundred years. So likely someone who had studied with John, who had learned under him, was from the community, added in this chapter 21. So it's still very valid. That's why it's in our canon. That's why we still read from it, because it's a valid story. Same with Mark. And that's why it's usually footnoted in our Bibles that way. So that's the morning brief for today to help us understand a little bit about the sermon. So I hope that you will be able to join us for church, whether that's online or in person, or watching the video after it posts later in the week. So I hope that you have a blessed Sabbath day, whatever it is that you are doing. God bless, and take care.